Hello and welcome to the Audaci-Tea, the podcast for women by women. And we are so happy to have y'all here. We are all back after the holiday break. Gwen is with us today. Welcome back, Gwen.
Hey, it's good to be back. I had to take a little bit of a setback because my health was giving me some scary times there, but I'm very grateful to have a loving home to come home to and supportive friends and family all around me who have helped kind of lift me through these trying times. Yeah. So hopefully my immune system will continue to be normal, hopefully.
It will.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you.
So happy. And of course, we want to give a huge shout out to our new VIP members. So let's keep that audience applause going for Jessica, Salma, and Sylvia.
Yeah.
Yay!
Woo!
And these are our newest Patreon subscribers, and we are especially happy to have y'all come over there because we have a free tier, we have a very low cost tier, but that is basically where we are joining together to talk about all things podcast, to suggest topics. We're putting out blogs there. So please make sure that you join and become part of that community that we're trying to cultivate, because we really do appreciate y'all's input, and everything that y'all are bringing to the table over there has been really helpful. We love the responses to our polls. We love that people are commenting on the blogs. And now that the holidays are sort of over, we are very excited to get back into the comments and reply to people. And hopefully we'll see a lot more of y'all over there. And the link for that is in the show notes. Please make sure you don't miss it. Don't forget to go over there and subscribe. With that being said, we are so excited to be back to our regular schedule, our regular group, and we are excited to bring y'all a brand spanking new episode on if you are going to date, then date like a man. And we have so much to say about this. I already know it. I know Sovereign's been talking about this on her TikTok or her YouTube as well. Please make sure that you follow us on all of those different platforms, and we will get into that topic after we have our tea time. Sovereign, what's your tea today?
So I know y'all have heard about the 70,000 men who were caught in a group chat. Basically, it was a rape chat. So there was 70,000 guys in this group chat that were either fantasizing about raping women in general, and also including women in their own family. And apparently some of them did do it.
Oh my God.
They were sharing with each other tips how they can pull it off and, like, you know, assault whoever, whoever, sister, moms, whoever. 70,000 guys is terrifying, but it just goes to show you that it's really more, we know it's way more than that. And that's the
right.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones who got caught. I don't know what's happening. And I also don't like the fact that it's not being, you know, put on mainstream media.
Yeah, why isn't the news covering this?
Covering that for whatever reason.
Whatever
I can just
reason,
about guess. But
yeah,
but it's been floating around TikTok and YouTube and, you know, all the socials, but not mainstream media.
What country was this in?
I can't remember offhand what country it was, but the members are from all over. They're from everywhere.
I think it was on like one of those apps where, it was on Telegram.
It's always Telegram.
Right.
Who runs Telegram? That's what I want to know. Is it a woman, a man?
It's a white man.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this article that our producer sent into our chat as well, I know you found that video, we'll share both, but this article was saying it's in Europe. So a recent investigation uncovered Telegram groups with 70,000 members in Europe sharing tips on how to rape and sexually assault women. That's enough men to fill 875 standard school buses, enough men to fill Madison Square Garden 3 times over, enough men to fill an NFL stadium during the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Terrifying.
Telegram was set up by a white male billionaire and has been the go-to messaging platform for dodgy behavior due to the firm's refusal to share any data with government agencies. And it's like, I don't really have a problem with that, but I have a problem with what it's being used for. Like, I love that they're not sharing data with the government or whatever, like sharing our data for free, but
Yeah.
it just allows for this kind of misogynistic
cost?
hellscape exactly to develop. Like, we can't have any nice things. We really, really can't. Like, there's the one app where they're not going to collect and sell back your data and like cause a bunch of spam emails and phone calls on your phone. Of course, it becomes the planning center for men trying to assault women. Like,
Exactly.
we can't have anything.
No.
It doesn't surprise me that it was Telegram because they have those, that there was like an nth room scandal that came out in South Korea as well with something similar to that degree of like thousands of men in this chat room talking about how to successfully get away with sexual assault. But it would be with members of their own family or like somewhere adjacent to that, like of friends and especially female family members. So
That is so disturbing.
I don't know if they ever got prosecuted or anything like that. I just know when I followed South Korean feminists, this was a big talking point of theirs.
As it should be, because these are the kind of things that men obviously don't talk about doing or advertise themselves as doing.
Right.
These are things that men do behind closed doors, and they consider it like a pastime or a hobby or something like that, like it's a video game or something.
Yeah.
And you just never know if this could be your coworker, if this could be your brother, if this could be, I've been on Reddit for a long time, and I've had the huge misfortune of reading the disturbing number of posts about, men being like, oh, I would do this to my sister, or like women finding out, like, I looked on my dad's laptop or my brother's laptop and I found incest porn and all this kind of gross stuff. And men will be in the comments defending these men, being like, well, that's porn. Like, that has nothing to do with reality.
Or that's your fault for going through his phone or his
Yeah.
laptop or whatever.
Yeah, like, why can't men have any privacy? Like, that's a private matter. Like, no, it isn't.
Ladies, if a man is defending that, just know that it's because he's that guy as well. 9 times out of 10. Like 9.999 times out of 10. If he's because there's no legitimate reason to defend such depravity unless that's who you are deep down. Like, what? Exactly. Why are you It's a red flag. It is a glaring red flag right before a cliff. Like, it's obvious that man, whoever he is, it could be your husband, your baby daddy, your brother, whoever. If they are defending it, that's the same as condoning it, in my opinion. Yes. And it is because they struggle with those same demons, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
Which is terrifying to think about.
It really is. And it just feels like the more that men feel sort of pushed out by women and, overshadowed by women, this is where that kind of rhetoric comes from. It's like, oh, women can go to work now. Women are successful now. Women are buying their own houses. Women are not having kids with us. Women are not wanting to marry us. And this seems to be the outcome of that. This seems to be their last ditch attempt of like somehow controlling us or whatever.
Yep, absolutely.
Because I just don't know where else this would be coming from.
I'm just curious to know where it's gonna go after that. Like, after they pull out all the stops and women still don't want to be bothered, I'm just wondering where else is there to go from there. Are they just gonna, I wonder, are the self-unalivings gonna increase? Are they gonna get more violent?
I hope. I'm not sorry.
Look, at some point, it's natural, selection or whatever, right?
I agree with that.
If you're not going to improve to the point where women want to mate with you and you'd rather take yourself off the face of the earth, if you can't have women by force, then, I'm not going to cry about that, I guess.
Life does go on. I will be wondering what I'll be eating for dinner later that day. I'm just
saying.
Be feeling a little safer. I was reading about the fact that to answer your question, Sovereign, I was reading an article about the fact that when there's less inequality in a country, women will actually start showing more like dark triad and Machiavellian traits like narcissism, sociopathy, and things like that, because we're not feeling safe. So it's funny to me that men are pushing all of this kind of traditional, quote unquote, values on women by force, thinking that it's going to make women like softer and more malleable and more submissive, when really it's going to turn women into complete psychopaths.
Absolutely.
Who are going to go back to like looking up how to poison your husband. And so that's what it's going to result in. And having grown up in a country like that, I can absolutely tell you, like having grown up like Russia adjacent, having grown up in Ukraine, the former Soviet Union, I grew up being instilled in me that men are not shit. Like none of the women that I grew up around liked men.
Oh, wow.
As people. Yeah. Like my mom's friends, like that's just how it is in a lot of the more like progressive parts of Ukraine, like outside of like the villages and stuff. But even in the villages, like women will openly talk about how they, they're the ones doing everything. They're the ones birthing all the kids. They're the ones really running things. And husbands are for the most part viewed as useless and like extra labor. So I can tell y'all, this is true. Like that's what's going to start happening. The less equality we have, the more women are just going to outright, especially amongst themselves, talk about, you don't need a man. Men are not shit. Only marry a man if you're going to use him for his resources. Like that was very much the mindset. So
it's already headed there. If you really think about it over here, because more and more women are talking like that. And I remember a while back on one of my videos, some guy on TikTok, some guys left a comment like, if you had a daughter, would you be telling your daughter this? And I'm like, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like, and I was just basically saying how you should, if you're going to date a man, be smart about it. Yep. Basically think like a man, I guess, if you will. And I'm like, I'm never having kids, but if I had a daughter, I absolutely would not raise my daughter to be a wife or to be a traditional nothing.
Nope.
I would try to talk her out of having kids and everything. So I'm so serious, like, because I already know what's in store. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We've lived enough of life to kind of know history repeats itself, and that's just all it does. It just repeats itself every, I don't know, 10 years, 100 years, whatever. So yeah, it's already happening. More and more women are basically saying, just get the bag, or use men for hard labor, stuff like that. So I can only imagine, like, because they're like, they throw the misandry word around, which, according to you, it sounds like that's really misandry over in Ukraine. It's not even misandry here yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still not even misandry over there because the women are still not like raping men and killing them and all this stuff.
Right,
like, you might get your ass beat with a frying pan, or like a slipper. If
but
you
the
come
men
home drunk and
men would call it that though. Like over there, that would be extreme to them.
Yeah,
but we're headed there, and I don't understand why they don't see that being the outcome. How do they not see that that's where we're headed? You've given women our rights back, and you've given us a choice. Typically, women are going to choose to just go on their own and be by themselves. Because what is the point if the fairy tale is not real? If there are more bad men than good men, if you keep getting the same results in dating, like what other option do you have than to just focus on yourself? So women are absolutely going towards that.
Yeah. This is how the animal kingdom works, right? When there's like males in the animal kingdom that contribute nothing to the community other than genetic material, how many of them is there usually?
It's usually way less.
One. Yeah. Like one or two. Like in a lion pride, right? Like all the men are like, oh, this lion is the alpha. That's why he's got all these women. No, he had to kill all the other men to become that, first of all, which the female lions made him do. And now they're going to be bugging him to like impregnate them and like all this stuff. They don't care if he's not in heat. If they're in heat, he's got to go. Like they will bite him and all this stuff. Like you can you can look up the videos. It's not really that fun of a life. And if any danger comes, like he is expected to sort of take on the bulk of it. But that's about all he's used for. Town bicycle. That's it. I'm serious.
Public pogo stick.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that in my head. Oh my God.
But the females, they hunt, they raise the kids, they do everything. And so they only need the one male. That's why they're like, no, fight to the death. And we're only going to keep one, the strongest and the most useful. The rest of y'all can literally die. So why would it be any different for us I'm just asking, why would it be any different for real human women that, it's just like because we have been told all of these narratives that female lions have never had to listen to in their life. Okay, that's why they're acting based on facts and we're not.
Because of patriarchy and this patriarchal programming, we're the only, I would call us the dumb species. We're the dumbest, and I'm not saying, generally, but we're the dumbest species.
We're just the most brainwashed species.
Yeah, we're the most, that's it. That's the word. Thank you, Gwen. We're the most brainwashed because we can be brainwashed. You can't brainwash a cat or a lion or female spiders or, female praying mantis, right? They
the ones that bite the
heads off after they mate with them. Yeah. We're the only ones that are somewhat forced to a certain degree to how did she put it? She said there was a lady I watched on I think TikTok. She said we're the only species that's forced to mate with and live with our predator, our natural predator.
Our hunters.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the very fact that we're the only species that does that's how you know it's made up and it's not actual nature.
Oh,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? This is not the natural way.
No. And men, it's like, I was talking about this in a TikTok. Men are actually totally fine with being seen as predators until you actually call them that. So like when women are like, oh, I was assaulted or something like that, it's like, no, it was your fault. Of course, a man's going to take advantage of you. If you're out there all weak and vulnerable and drunk and
with
scantily clad.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you realize what you've just described, right?
Absolutely.
That's a predator. Like, but then when you call them that, they freak out and get their panties in a bunch. But it's like, no, you want to act like that.
Yeah, calling them that means if you're bringing it to the forefront, they only care because it's going to cut them off from access.
Exactly.
That's really the only reason why, and that's why they hate content creators like us, because we are talking to younger women and women in general, showing them the game, if you want to call it that. And the more women wake up, the less options the men are going to have. And that's why they hate. Did you hear me? They hate women like us. And I get a kick out of it. Nothing helps me to sleep better at night than to know that somewhere in the world, a bunch of men hate me.
Are like punching their pillow every time they see one of your videos. Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, I'm going to make sure my wife don't watch your content. I'll make sure my baby mama don't watch your content. Well, good luck. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's not any wonder why the natural programming has been to, like, you've seen these really old Disney movies and it portrays like the older women as like hags and withered and like the crones and like don't listen to them, they're evil, haggardly, and they just do everything, they go out of their way to like kind of put this idea in your head that older women are not to be listened to, that they're just jealous of your beauty and your youth and all these other horrible things, and that's just male programming. So that's never been lost on me, because I grew up with a lot of older women in my family, and I've never seen them as like the old hag or the crone. Like they've always been so elegant and graceful, and they've always had like the best life advice to give. And so if I could tell the younger generations, that is that you need older friends, you need older girlfriends to show you the way.
I agree.
And I don't mean by like 1 or 2 years. Like try to get someone in their 30s, like late 20s, to like talk to you and just go to brunch with you from time to time, or even like talk to your coworkers every now and then. If you don't have access to like older women in your community, it's usually like your coworkers, or even like a mentor. Or if you go to college, it'll be like a teacher's assistant. So somewhere around like the late 20s, early 30s is the best place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as they're not, male
identified.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. That's the tricky part.
Yeah. We'll have to do an episode to try to like teach them how to vet for male identified friendships.
That's a good idea.
I think we have that on the list.
Is it?
But if we don't, I'll
so
add it.
Okay.
Well, my tea was just that Justin Trudeau, like the latest, like I'm reading the Independent article, but Trump says many in Canada love being the 51st state after Prime Minister announces resignation. So Trudeau just announced that he's resigning from the Prime Minister position. So let me read this for y'all. Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation as Liberal Party leader. He will remain as Canadian Prime Minister until the party has chosen a successor. It's the end of a 9-year stint in office as pressure grew from within his Liberal Party, which is trailing significantly behind the opposition Conservatives in the polls. Trudeau made the announcement from his Rideau Cottage residence. Quote, I intend to resign as party leader as Prime Minister after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide competitive process. Trudeau said Monday, this country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I am having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. So a row broke out inside Trudeau's party after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump announced a proposal to introduce 25% tariffs on the country. So he wasn't even in office yet, and Trump was threatening a 25% tariff on Canada, which if y'all don't know, Canada supplies us with cement and steel, building supplies, and 65% of our oil, I want to say. I might need to be fact checked on that, but I know a lot of our oil resources do come from Canada.
Yep.
So a 25% tariff would exponentially raise the gas prices. So I don't understand where the whole sentiment of his voters were saying oh, Trump's going to fix the economy. He's going to make everything better. Girl, you seen these tariff policies? These 25% on Canada, 65% on China. And he was going to do the same thing for Mexico before the Mexican president gracefully sat him down and told him this is what we've been working on, you stupid broke motherfucker. We're definitely trying to control our border crisis, but y'all are the ones creating all the demand for the drugs, and who's also giving them the guns? Oh, not us. So
Right.
I don't know, it's very convoluted right now, and I don't understand. I'm actually very fearful of what the next 4 years are going to look like, and especially if Trump is hellbent on, I don't know, if maybe he's just joking about putting Canada as the 51st state, because he's saying Trump presses on his taunts referring to Canada as the 51st state following the announcement. Many people in Canada love being the 51st state, he wrote on Truth Social. That seems a little fascist to me.
They're never going to agree to that.
It's giving Putin invading Ukraine.
I was just about to say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really scary.
That's who he's looking at.
I mean, they would have to have a whole war if.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if y'all know this about Canadian history, but the reason why we have what's called the Geneva Convention and war crimes, that was the Canadians. The Canadians were some of the first ones to do some of these horrific things. So their whole motto was it's not a war crime if we do it first, if it's the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a hidden motto, because I think Canada spends a lot of their PR on being this friendly, happy-go-lucky nation, but deep down they did have some war crimes in their history. So
wow.
Yeah, the benefits of growing up with a lot of history buffs as my friends and in college. So yeah.
Raising gas prices, if that's what they're planning on doing, that would lead to that. That has Elon Musk written all over it, because
to get people to buy EVs,
those goddamn cars, they're gonna want people to buy. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's ever going to come a time in my lifetime where I'm going to want an electric car.
They explode on impact. For the safety standards for cars, Teslas and Cybertrucks rated very low on that, because right on impact, the batteries just explode.
Right.
Really?
And not to mention, there's not enough lithium to make enough of these batteries to replace all the cars. They're going to run out of lithium before they can make enough cars for everybody to have one, which is crazy. And also it's just as bad for the environment at the end of the day to be mining the things that they need to be mining to make these batteries. So it's kind of a closed loop anyway. None of it makes sense.
Running out of lithium. Does that mean we're going to run out of batteries that we use for our everyday households?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Well, especially if they're
terrible.
over here hoarding them for all the Teslas. Yeah.
Oh my God. Somebody need to put a stop to this.
No, seriously. And if you've seen, I just saw a video today about the huge lines for the EV charging stations.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I think it was in Canada, funny enough. But yeah, people were there was a mile-long line just to charge your vehicle because they don't have enough of these. Yeah, and I have friends who own Teslas, and they have more complaints than they have good things to say about it. Especially after the newness of it wears off, the first couple months. They're oh yeah, it's really hard to charge my car. I don't know where to charge it. I have to wait 40 minutes. Because, you go get gas and it's you're in and out of there in 5-10 minutes. But
how did they not know this ahead of time?
That's what I'm saying.
Because that is my number one reason why I don't want an electric car. That is the top at the top. So if I know that without ever test driving one or whatever, how do they not think about these things?
The marketing targets
The marketing didn't fool me. I still don't want one.
because you're not a susceptible person. Like these people who fall for the marketing campaigns and don't do any research are exactly who that was targeted at.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
The more susceptible ones who are not going to take the time to do the research, look up the safety protocols on it, or any recalls or anything to do with that, or like even a charging station near me. Like they won't even take the time to Google Tesla charging station near me.
This is true.
To find out like the nearest one, because like
This is true.
It's like 7,000 miles away. Like,
because
really?
in Texas,
I'm still gonna get one.
Well, luckily since like he's based in Texas, there's quite a few around us, and now we even have them in like grocery store parking lots and in the malls. Some of our malls have like the EV, and that they're conveniently parked right at the front, so it's like a super nice parking spot where you would normally put like a handicapped person spot or like a pregnant woman parking spot. They're right there and taking up those spaces, which
that's so annoying.
Yeah. It's so obnoxious. I feel like they should be in the back because those giant electronic machines that have like the advertisements on them constantly and they're very bright, they're hideous. And I feel like they should just be in the dark corners in the less well-lit area of the parking lot.
I know. And it's going to be scary to see once he is really given full like government power, what he is going to try to do. Elon, I mean, like just knowing that.
President Elon.
Yeah, I think Trump is already like
regretting it.
I just wonder, is there a part of him that's willing to just like surrender and just let Elon do whatever?
Yeah.
And maybe that was the plan all along.
Like all of his businesses that he ever tried to dole out, even during his presidency, they went bankrupt. So,
maybe his businesses went bankrupt. I don't think he's bankrupt.
No, because I think he's still doing the side hustles. Like I remember one of them was like a Bible with his name signed on it. And it was like the Trump Bible. And they were selling for like, what, $65? I'll have to put that in the show notes.
And that's how I know most Christians have never read the Bible, by the way.
Exactly.
You dumb
That's
motherfuckers.
sacrilege.
Seriously, like that is crazy. You've never read the Bible. If you purchased one of those, you are not going to read that Bible and you've never read any Bible
They
before.
just want to be able to say they got one.
Exactly. And you're
Just
gross
gonna
for
keep
that.
their
And
click
Jesus
dust.
would have slapped you upside the head.
Jesus would have nailed you to that cross.
Yeah, no, seriously.
I don't understand why maybe like any of the Catholics would have stood up, because I know to them, like idolatry is their biggest thing. Like you don't worship idols. Am I thinking of another religion? I think that's the Catholics. But one of these religions in Christianity is big on idolatry and not worshing anything other than Jesus on the cross.
Yeah, it's Christianity. Like you're literally not supposed to have any other gods before God. And you're definitely not supposed to like have a Trump signed Bible.
I think that's like the first commandment. Isn't it?
I can tell you for a fact that is against the Bible. Like that's
I think
against
it's the
the commandments.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Is it the first amendment? The first commandment?
Well, like the first 3 commandments are somehow about how you're not supposed to worship like any other gods.
Yeah.
With all that being said, and with like the scary things that are heading towards us, let's talk about dating like a man after this break. And we're back. Ladies, let's talk about how to date like a man, if you're going to date at all, being the biggest qualifier in this conversation. I do think that a lot of dating is a waste of time. And I think that me and a lot of our fellow creators in this space would frankly also not seek out dating opportunities. Like a lot of us that are in relationships, it's because those things like kind of fell into our lap while we were out here acting like how we wanted to act. Those were the men that passed sort of that initial vetting of, can you handle a woman who's not going to make her life all about you right away and be your mommy bang maid. So a lot of us that are in relationships, and I know I get this question a lot, especially ever since I started posting on my YouTube, but anytime I talk about how most men are useless in relationships, people come in and they're like, but you're married.
Yeah.
But you're married. You have a man. And it's like, yeah, well, do you think I would be married and have a man and still talk all this crap if he was just like that? No, I wouldn't. I'm literally only married to him because he's not a useless sack of shit. And I want the same for for the rest of the women out there.
Absolutely.
And the only way that you're going to get there is by dating like a man. So let's get into that, ladies. I know, Sovereign, you just did a video on this. And I know, Gwen, you have a whole list that I unfortunately can't see because I'm too far away from the screen. So I'll have to just follow along with you as you cover this. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me that in our society, men are never expected to date, and they never do date to their detriment. Only women. You know, it's like you never hear people telling men just to give the ugly, nice girl a chance.
Never. Absolutely
Never. And they're never expected to sort of like settle in their expectations or, you know, in what they want a woman to do. They're never expected to settle. Only women are expected to settle. And it's like, well, yeah, that's just how men are. And like men take longer to learn, or like, have you tried talking to him? Have you tried showing him, teaching him? Men would never have that kind of patience with you. Just FYI.
And if you ever even suggest that they have that kind of patience, those are like fighting words.
Oh, absolutely.
They will look at you like you got two heads.
Absolutely. And they never expect to give up their free time or their career or risk pregnancy or any of that when they're dating. And women do. That's just like by default, that's the expectation of like if your boyfriend or husband to be or whatever has like big career aspirations, the expectation is that you're going to move with him, that you're going to support him through it, that you're going to work a full-time job while he goes to school, all that stuff. And men rarely do that for their partners. And they oftentimes expect them to give up those dreams of a career and all that kind of stuff just to be with them or just to like raise their kids or whatever. That's the expectation.
Yep.
And it's something that they would never do.
Never. And any guy that has done it, typically he did it for himself. Like if it looked like he did it for you, he did it for himself.
There was something in it for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the biggest takeaway, right? Is like men will never, ever, ever enter into a relationship where there's nothing in it for them. Even if that something is just an ego boost, even if that something is just, you know, maybe not your dream girl, but somebody who's going to cook and clean and put out on demand, they're never going to date somebody who has a lack, you know, of something to offer them, a lack of hygiene, a lack of bedroom experience, a lack of, you know, any of that kind of stuff. They expect you to know that stuff. They expect you to fully do it, to put your heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
And they would never lift a finger to, you know, put their socks into the hamper instead of next to it.
I always felt like that was a power play.
It is. It absolutely is. It can't be anything else. If the sock is next to the hamper instead of in it, that's a power play. Absolutely. And a lot of this is based on power dynamics, right? And I don't know if y'all remember, there was a TikTok trend going around of like, hey fellas, if your wife made like $300K a year, what would you do? And it was like all this, you know, men putting on aprons and like scrubbing the toilet and stuff. And it's like, oh, so that's how much y'all would do it for. But y'all expect women to do that shit for a man making $30K. Yeah.
For free.
To clip coupons.
$30K is free.
Yeah. No, seriously.
$50K is free.
What's in it for you? What's in it for you? Like nothing. You're trying to stretch that money as far as you can. Like that's a lack. That's a detriment. So you have to, as a man, you have to start bringing other things to the table because most women can get that 30K easily by themselves. 30, 50, 70K easily by themselves. And this is why we're really encouraging women to date like men, because with women having rights now, with women being able to make their own living and pay their own rent and pay their own bills, you don't need a parasite sitting on top of you.
Exactly. As they say, you can do bad by yourself. You can do better by yourself as well. Like you can do well alone.
And when you vet men like this, that's how you end up with a good man. That's how you end up with a man who doesn't think that it's like something special to quote unquote help you out around the house or something special to like support you in something, and he doesn't want all this recognition for it, or like being a good dad. Like that, all of those things should be a reward unto themselves. But men always want extra rewards for it. So
or a cookie or a gold star. Look, I took the trash out. Aren't you gonna S my D?
Yeah.
Right? No, I was reading on Reddit, and this woman expressed frustration at like how her husband just kind of treats everything as like a transaction to sex. Like, oh, I took out the trash. Like, does this mean I'll get sex? And like, oh, I took care of the kids and then took them to daycare and like did the bare fucking minimum as like a father to your kids. And it's just, he only did that as like a way to kind of negotiate his way into the bedroom. And she just is like, are all men just like this? Like, do they all just treat women like, you know, a snack machine that you put coins in and sex falls out? Just, and that clicked for me. And like that.
Too many.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's not all men, but damn, it's too many of y'all. It's not that serious. Like, why can't y'all just get off on something else? Like, or like, you know, just use what God gave you. You got 2 hands. And it's like, your wife's not always going to feel like in the mood because she's, you know, taking on the mental load, the domestic labor, the child rearing, and like she's touched by kids all day and she just is really like sensory overloaded out and overwhelmed and tired and just, you know, being a mom, like that's a lot to put on a woman. And then to ask for sex on top of that, like for the, like, you shouldn't expect sex for at least the first year and a half after the kid is born, honestly, because that's the more critical time to kind of care for the child and like get to know its wants and needs and be present for it at every second. And you just can't take your eyes off because it's a brand new born baby. So
the average man ain't waiting 6 weeks,
No,
let alone
seriously.
let alone a year. The average man be already cheating on their pregnant wife or pregnant girlfriend while she's pregnant. So I don't know too many women that has not happened to in all my life.
No, seriously. And pregnancy is one of those things that, you know, women are always told to like choose better and pick better. So they do. They'll find a good man who like splits household responsibility and like doesn't sweat them about things and whatever. And then they'll get pregnant. And the man will switch up. This is a
Every time.
subreddit that's not like private or, you know, they don't have privacy concerns. The Mommit subreddit, MOMMIT. And I will go on there like about once a month and I'll just sort by the top posts of that month. And this is basically what comes up all the time. My husband was great. And then after I got pregnant, it's like a switch flipped and now he is useless, weaponizing incompetence. Like he used to get me gifts for all the occasions. And now that I'm a mom, he gets me nothing. We haven't celebrated a birthday, an anniversary, nothing. And it's like, that's a catch-22. Like, what are you supposed to do there?
Don't
as a
have no
woman?
kids.
Exactly.
Seriously.
And that's why women are choosing that.
Because
that's exactly why women are choosing
I always
that.
say, just don't risk it. Because for most men, that's the whole point. Once they got you, you're conquered. It's over. I don't have to try anymore. I don't have to impress her anymore. She's stuck. And that was their whole point. And that was the whole goal. I got what they say, gotcha, bitch, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Or like when Offset said that about Cardi.
Yeah.
He was
on
like,
that
I won
Instagram
because you're my baby mama.
Yeah,
So that means I won.
absolutely.
Like, sir, this was
Such a
never a
loser.
battle. Like literally, this was a joint
Yeah.
effort. You produced human beings that you're now using as a pawn
Yes.
in a really sick little fucked up game. And men love to say that women do this to them. And it's always projection. This is why I always say it's projection every single time. They're like, oh, my ex is trying to keep me from seeing my kid. Well, sir, have you been to court?
Nope.
Have you? 91% of men that apply for visitation get it, by the way. Over 90% of men. So that's not like whatever you're saying is not a flex because I know for a fact you haven't tried. That's all that tells me. If an ex or whatever is preventing you from seeing your kids, that means you haven't tried because the court 9 times out of 10 will say yes.
They don't
And you
want that
don't even have to try
responsibility.
that hard. Yeah,
They don't actually want to be responsible.
of course not.
For those kids.
Of course not. And that's how you need to think. Like you need to, when you're going into dating, you need to realize that if you're going to have kids with a man or whatever, you need to know in the back of your mind that this might be how it plays out. And you need to be ready to do it all yourself, first of all, because this is the one thing that men will never have to think about.
Nope.
They'll never have to think about actually being trapped with a baby. No matter how much they cry about being baby trapped, you can't actually do that to a man.
Nope.
There's no punishment to him for walking away. You cannot trap him with a baby. You can only trap a person with a baby who is forced to carry it, gestate it, birth it, breastfeed it, all of those things. That's who's trapped.
Absolutely.
The man is never
Always.
trapped. So you need to first and foremost realize that and date like a man, because most men wouldn't touch women with a 60-foot pole if we could get them pregnant.
And this is why, and I totally agree with that. And this is why I personally feel like, and this is a bit controversial, a man should have no say-so over if you keep a baby or not. I don't care if he's your baby daddy, your husband, your
That's
high
not
school
controversial at
sweetheart,
all.
whoever. They're like, well, he has to have a say-so too. Why? For what?
No.
For what? He's not bearing any of the risk. He can walk away, and they very oftentimes do. He can walk away. He can wake up one day and say, you know what?
I don't feel like it.
I don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
And he's out. And that's exactly what most of them do anyways. So at the end, and then when they try to so-called fight for it, it's just to keep access to you. It's not because they actually love you or care about you or actually want to be a father. They just, they're trying to keep their supply up. They want to keep their options up. You're just another option to them. But when it comes down to them deciding to leave, they do it all the time. That's why there's so many single mothers. In every culture, every race, women, they're either single mothers, married single mothers, or divorced single mothers. I say that on every fucking video because that's exactly that's pretty much the situation you're going to find yourself in. Yeah. In most cases, as a woman, you're going to be in one of those three categories. Some women will find themselves being in all three.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would be a way that women who do want to have kids but don't know if they picked the right partner, like how would you, maybe vet or kind of weed some of these weak men out?
Yeah, I would even say before you even think about having kids, you just need to think straight up like a man in a relationship. What is the man bringing to the table?
Yep.
What is he bringing to the table for you? And not,
It
again,
has to be more than just a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. That's for him. His paycheck is for him. He's working. He would have to work regardless. If he wants to be an independent human being, he would have to work regardless. He'd have to pay for a place regardless. He'd have to pay his car note. He'd have to pay his bills. That's not special. Most women do that. Most women do that. Most women that live alone, most women that even don't live alone, they pay their own bills. They have their own money. That's not an attraction point anymore. It was 50 years ago, but not anymore.
It's really to the point, and I know this is going to turn a lot of women off because a lot of women are going to find out and realize, damn, it ain't really that many guys out here to choose from. I might have to do this alone, or I might just not have to do it at all. That's the conclusion that most of y'all are going to come to sooner or later. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
Because it's to the point now where you would, if you plan on having a baby with a man, you literally would need to be like, okay, put my name on the deed to this house.
Yes.
Let's go fill out some life insurance policies today. Let's, you need to make sure you got some stuff in place because a lot of women are going to realize besides a paycheck, a man typically, the average man has nothing to bring you but pain, suffering, and sorrow and being cheated on and being lied to and being gaslit. And you're just going to be a married single mother or a single, like seriously.
They're here to take from you.
They're here to siphon your energy and use your body as a cum dumpster and all types of other stuff. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's literally what they, and we know that is how they see you because that's how they treat you. If you're complaining about shit day in and day out in your relationship, it is because he don't really fuck with you like that. That's why. 2 + 2 = 4, ladies. Yes, if he really loves you, if he really cares about you, a lot of the things that women be upset about, it wouldn't even be a thing because he would see you as human. He would care about your feelings. He would not have to be asked to do stuff. Like he would just do it. The dishes need to be done. The trash need to be taken out. The baby's crying. She's in the shower. I'm not going to take her the baby and be like, hey, the baby's crying. You're going to soothe your own fucking son or daughter. Like, you just wouldn't have, they would know what they need to do. If you're complaining about the little basic things, it's because he's using you and he don't care. So if you're going to have kids with a man and all of that, you need to have some stuff set in place. That way, if something happens to him or if he decides to just run off with Brenda from accounting, you got
you're not gonna have to go through the court
you ain't
got to
go through all that bullshit. Yeah,
because it will already be spelled out. I also think there should be a work contract. Like there was this one lady on Reddit a few years ago, and I loved this post because her husband came crying to Reddit and was like, "Oh, my wife, we split everything 50-50, and she has this well-paying job, and we make over like $300K combined. Like all this stuff, we've always done everything separately. Like we paid for the wedding 50-50, we paid for the honeymoon 50-50, all this stuff. And now, we decided to have kids and she's bringing me contracts to sign to make it more 50-50.
Yeah.
Queen.
She's smart.
Queen.
That is.
Yes.
What?
Yes. And she was like, she had a clause in there for like housekeeping. Like basically, if you don't keep up your end of the housekeeping, I'm going to outsource it and charge you for it.
Oh,
right?
She's smart.
Yeah. She said, I want $50K in my bank account because that's how much work I'm going to miss. That's how much, this is going to take a hit on my career and all this stuff. And he was like, I just feel like this is cold. Like, I feel like this is such like bad treatment. Like, I can't believe she would do this. And I'm like, sir, I don't know what you're talking about because you were cool with 50-50 right up until now. Right up until she's like, hey, I'm going to use my body to make this baby. I'm going to miss out work. My career is going to take a hit. I don't know if I can trust you with like housekeeping to the point where I'm making like contracts. And this was all because her sister sat her down and told her all of this stuff. And he's like, yeah, I noticed a change in her and like all this stuff. It's like, yeah, her eyes were open and she went from being a pick-me to a reasonable human being and being like, you know what, man, you've taken advantage of me this whole time. And you wanted to have kids with me the whole time, but you wanted to go 50-50 right up until it's my turn to give more than 50.
Yep. And the only reason why he has a problem with it was because he was planning on slacking.
Exactly.
That was it.
Exactly. Yeah. So most men, and this is another great vetting technique, most men will not make it past this at all.
Nope.
If you start talking about how, they're like, oh, I want to have 7 kids and all this stuff. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's great. I actually have like arrangements for that. And, like the more kids I have, there's like all these clauses and stipulations and all this stuff. The men would look at you like you have 2 heads, like you said, Sovereign. They would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, well, no, I don't know. I'm expected to do all this stuff by default.
Right.
Imagine everything I'm expected to do, and I have no choice in it. I have no choice in how my pregnancy goes. Women also think about the fact that you have no control over how many kids you're going to have from one pregnancy.
Oh,
That's not something a lot of people think about.
Yeah.
People think, oh, I'm going to have a baby. What if it's 2? What if it's 3?
What if it's 8?
You know?
Y'all remember Octomom?
Yeah. I'll never forget.
I would die. I would
sue.
fucking die.
Yeah.
You go to that ultrasound, you find out you got 8 active pregnancies in your belly. I would sue
I would die
someone.
from a broken heart. My heart would be shattered to the point where it would just take me out.
No, seriously. And she has like so many health issues because of that pregnancy. And I mean, it's a crazy, story. But even having like 2-3 kids, like I know, one of my good friends, she had a, twin pregnancy and she was on bed rest to the point, it's just really hard. It's really hard. So you can't control any of that. Meanwhile, men want to control exactly, what's going to be expected of them after childbirth. Like they get to control that stuff. They get to just opt in or out.
Yep.
And you don't. So you need to keep that in the forefront of your mind. If you're of childbearing age, if your tubes are not tied, if you're dating men who insist on like, finishing inside of you or whatever, whether you're on birth control or not, you need to realize like that's where the man relinquishes his say. So in whether you keep that child or not. The moment that he chooses to have his ejaculate anywhere near where it can get you pregnant, that's his choice. And then your choice comes after that.
Yep.
He made a choice. Now you get to make a choice. So I just wanted to wrap that little thing up with that because men do not get to tell you how to handle your pregnancies or whatever, because they have no idea what they're doing. And I'll tell you this, watching so many of my friends go through unplanned pregnancies and then telling those men has just given me absolute nightmares for the rest of my life about how men will act when you tell them that you're pregnant unexpectedly.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, they've been the ones spilling their seed everywhere, inside of you and all that. And then they're surprised.
That's how you know that they don't see you as human because
Exactly.
Oh God. It's like, how can you do that and then be like, oh my God, you're trying to trap me or whatever. It's like, that's how you know that their minds are fucked up and they don't see you as human. They see you as a cum receptacle.
Your body part.
That's it. You're a human blow up doll. Yep. That's all you ever be to a man who reacts that way.
And,
what?
And to our point, that's how you need to start viewing men a little bit more. Just a little bit. Can he get you off? Right?
According
what
to
is he
these
doing
women nowadays, not even. So
not even close.
Can you imagine getting pregnant from a sexual encounter that brought you nothing?
Nothing.
You got nothing.
That's most of them.
God.
That's most of
You know, I
them.
would be mad at life. I would just be mad. Ugh. And then you plan on keeping it? Jesus Christ.
I just, so it's like you have to start sort of flipping the tables back on them. Okay, because now at this point, you don't need men to survive. We need to remember this as women because I feel like this goes lost on a lot of women.
It does.
You do not need a man to survive. And if you are going to have a man, then he better be contributing not just to your survival, but to both of you thriving.
Yes.
Like that needs to be the bare minimum standard because most women are out here helping men survive because they're so useless on their own. It's like not only is he not bringing anything to the table, you need to tell him to go to the doctor, the dentist. You need to tell him to get his car oil changed.
Go
you
to
need
the
to
ER.
make appointments for exactly. Like he would literally die if you weren't there. Die alone in his apartment on his one piece of furniture that's in there, across from his TV that's sitting
lawn
on the
chair on the
floor.
TV.
No, seriously.
With a stack of books
Yes.
propping the TV up.
Oh my
I'm so serious. Those are their possessions in life. And and you as a woman have to keep this man alive, or otherwise he will perish without you.
Why would you want that job?
Why would you want that? That's what I'm saying.
That's
It's like you have
draining
to
as fuck.
start really asking yourself, what is he bringing to the table? Is he good in bed? What do I like? Do I like his body? Do I like how he, treats me in bed? Like, do I like all those things? Because honestly, men think that about you. They think that about you
They
all
judge
the
you based
time.
on it.
They judge you
really
based
do.
on
Yeah.
it. And not only that, but, as a woman, go watch a bunch of porn and get used to the dick sizes in that. Get used to how long the men last in that. Get used to the kind of positions that those men can get into and how hard, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then be like, you're just not really doing it for me.
Absolutely.
We need to make this more exciting. You need to last longer. You need to be harder. You need to make your dick bigger. Use a pump. Like, I don't care at this point. I don't care because so many men will be like, you need to get a boob job. You need liposuction.
Literally.
Oh, the girls
You need
in
a
the
mommy
You
porn.
gained too
makeover.
much weight after the baby. Yeah. They
So
don't
I'm
have
just
any
saying,
problem.
date. This is what it would look like to date like a man. This. I know it sounds extreme, but this is how men date.
If you
They would never give somebody out of their physical type a chance.
If you
Never.
don't date like a man, you're going to get got.
Yes.
That's the
Exactly.
bottom line. That's the
Exactly.
takeaway. Like you will find yourself in all these fucked up situations that could have been prevented 9 times out of 10 had you vetted them a certain way.
Yep.
And vetting is not 100% guarantee. It's not. But there are things that you can do, like she was suggesting, ahead of time, like in the very beginning, is going to weed out like 90-something% of the men anyway. You know what I mean? Like you have to be extreme in order to weed out the bad ones.
And let me tell y'all something. Yeah, I have talked about this in my like private TikTok community, but this is exactly what I did. Like I literally decided I am so done with like giving men a chance that are like outside of my realm of physical attraction, outside of my realm of intelligence, outside of my realm of where I'm at in life. Mind you, I was 19 and I couldn't find men older than me that had their shit together. And I decided I'm going to date for looks. I'm going to date for how they treat me. I'm going to date for success. And so now when people ask me, why are you married? I can give them an actually good answer.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't think I can live without a man. It's not because like whatever. It's because the man that I'm married to actually brings value into my life. I don't have to raise him. I don't have to baby him. I don't have to mother him. I'm attracted to him.
Yep.
And all of these things have worked out for me because I decided to date like a man. I literally did. When I was 19 years old, I was like, I'm going to be in my Black Widow phase from now on. And I was married at 20, which I don't recommend. Not the best decision. It worked out. But I'm just going to tell y'all that what preceded it was me being like, fuck this. I'm done. I'm done dating, according to how the world... Yeah, pity date. Exactly. It's like, oh, I'm not really like fully attracted to him. Like he has some hobbies that I don't like. He's kind of like frankly, not the brightest bulb in the bunch.
Right, like
most
he's
women
nice
will
and
be
he
like,
does
yeah,
the
that's,
bare minimum.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like nice oftentimes just means passive. It just means like nice guys don't get a pass from me because usually they're very passive. They're like, oh, I'm nice. Okay, well, where are your ambitions? What are those? He doesn't know what those are.
In my early 20s, I was a part of the food dude brigade. Right. I was a part of the group of women that would just go out on dates because it was a free dinner because they were like, and the guys would just be like, oh, no strings attached. I just want to take you out and show you a good time. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Take me out and show me a good time. And then when it comes down to you thinking you're going to get anything back, no, because you told me that no strings attached and you just wanted to show me a good time. All right. Good night. Thanks for dinner. I did that all the way up until I would say probably like 24. Somewhere around there. I just use them. Like,
and good for you. That's dating like a man because most men want to go out, pay $20 for your share of dinner, and then risk getting you pregnant.
Yes.
Risk you getting baby trapped. No, thank you. You're gonna have to spend a lot more than a $20 entree from fucking Applebee's to risk fucking up the rest of my life, sir. I watched 16 and Pregnant.
Yeah, I did too. I wouldn't recommend that, by the way, y'all.
That was like
I grew up in a time where that was I grew up at the tail end of that, where the most that would typically happen was, you use me, fuck you, bitch.
Right. Men couldn't find you and dox you on the internet.
Nowadays, you could get your head blown off if you do that.
Seriously.
So please don't. I
They're
don't
getting
recommend
a lot more violent. Like, men have really changed in their mindset for sure. I don't know if you saw Kat's video talking about that. She was like, you used to go outside and men would just give you money for being pretty. What happened to that?
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I remember that.
We grew up I grew up at the tail end of chivalry. Like the tail end of it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know. Men just didn't feel like losers, I guess, back then because they felt like they had the upper hand. And
there wasn't
now
like a platform for them to gather and congregate on and share these views and they weren't able to find as many like-minded people. And then in comes like Reddit and then 4chan and all these other like type space. Yeah, these like manosphere spaces where it's like an echo chamber for them.
Yeah,
totally.
Like that wasn't a thing until like the 2000s, I feel like. Or even like the later 2000s, I think, too. Yep. Reddit's another one. There are some spaces on Reddit where it's really seedy and gross in there.
Oh, I know.
Oh, and it's so gross.
It's just a misogynistic think tank. And they say the most like egregious things that you could ever say about women or even to a woman. Like they'll just put it in the comments, just out there. Or even in like Instagram comments now, like they're getting really bold. And I think it's just because they've seen and they've learned by now that there's just no consequences for this.
Yeah.
Like not real ones, either socially or either like just in the justice system.
It's
like
not.
You hurt a woman or you rape a woman, God forbid. And the Brock Turner case, he got 6 months in jail and then he was let off in 3 months for good behavior. What the fuck?
Right.
Like they've learned by now, like there's just no semblance of consequences or any sort of just punishment for them. So they feel like they're emboldened now to just get away with this shit. And more, even younger men are learning this. And it's being replicated and sent out. And now it's in podcasts. It's in our TV shows. It's in just like our media. And it's not even just Western media anymore. It's all media now, I feel like, where this is just becoming normalized.
Yep, you're right. It is normalized. But the good news with that normalization, what's the saying? The chickens will come home to roost.
Yeah.
Because they're showing who they are. And now women are staying far the fuck away from so many of these men. And natural selection, like Lisa was saying earlier. Like, they're just going to literally extinct themselves, in my opinion. Like, however that is. I don't know if it's going to be self-deletion or if it's going to be whatever. But when they're
going to run themselves into the ground because that's what happened in the USSR. Women were living till like 83 and men were living till like 50 tops because they were drinking and fucking around because no women wanted to be with them.
Yeah.
So they would all just die really young. And women would be living alone into their 70s. and the life expectancy barely dropped for them.
And that's why they say married men live longer than they do when they're single. And if more and more women start turning away from them and leaving at the first red flag and all that stuff, it's gonna go back to that. Because I'm wondering if that's the natural lifespan of the average man anyways, is 50 or 60 or whatever. So it's gonna go back to that anyway, because of natural selection. That's the way I see it. If women are not choosing you, nature doesn't want you here. You're not being chosen. You're not being chosen to replicate your DNA. Your DNA is weak, whatever it is. And so nature is going to find a way to get rid of you. And that's just the way I see it.
And men would find this to be misandry.
Yeah, they will.
Meanwhile, they're literally out here. And I'll still never get over the fact that the FDS subreddit was banned. And none of the other misogynistic. There was
MGTOW, like MG, men going their own way. And it was just like, and I'm all for that. Honestly, men just avoiding women because they can't handle themselves around them. Hell,
I'm all for that.
They never do that though. They're always like, yeah, but I'm spinning plates and like they're
like, where are the women at? Every event.
Why can't you actually go your own way? Like, why is it only women that can do that?
Because they can't survive without women.
They can't survive without women. And Sovereign, to answer your question, FDS was like the original kind of radicalized female subreddit. It was women's answer to the red pill. And basically they were just saying, it was called female dating strategy. And this was their entire... Shout out to female dating strategy.
And they got banned?
We love you guys.
They got banned like 2 years or 3 years maybe into having the subreddit because they were posting things like men. They were telling women to date like men. Barely, if that. They were just like kind of like saying what Gwen said, like stay away from them if they're not treating you right. And basically all the scrotes like on Reddit got so mad. Yeah, there was a playbook. That
was a dating playbook.
Yeah, and they had like vetting strategies and like field reports and everything. And the red pill community is still alive and kicking. Of course. It's quarantined, of course, but that took a long time. That happened after the FDS ban, which is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I cannot believe they banned that subreddit. There was absolutely no reason to.
Because they need women, and they don't want women teaching other women how to either use men, stay away from them, or how to date them or whatever. Like it just shows how weak they are.
Exactly. And you have to remember that too, ladies. Like when you're going out to date, if a man cannot handle what you're bringing to the table, if a man is talking about how he needs a submissive woman, if a man is talking about how he needs you not to talk back, he wants a traditional woman, all that stuff.
Be his
only reason, and the only reason that he's doing that is because he feels weak and small. He doesn't feel strong among other men or whatever, or he feels like his like ground standing is shaky as a man, and he wants to sort of take that out on you.
Yep.
Because he's a loser. That's the only reason. It's the only reason, I promise you. Because I promise you, women have never come up to a man and been like, yeah, I just want a really submissive man. I want somebody who doesn't argue. I want somebody soft-spoken, somebody to be my peace when I get home.
Never.
No.
Oh, if a man don't care about your degrees, that's a red flag.
Yep.
If he doesn't care about your accomplishments, men don't vet women because of that. Listen. If he don't care about things that make you, things that have contributed to the woman you are today, because I'm sorry, but in education, I don't care what anyone says about college or whatever, women who have educated themselves, men too, that is, it's not a character trait, but it is something, it adds to you.
Because, it's a life experience.
Yeah, it's a life experience. And you learn so much about, history or different cultures.
Absolutely.
You become diversified in that way. And somebody who's saying, I don't care about the things that you've experienced and learned to make you, don't give a fuck about you at all. They care about what you can do for them. That's the hidden message behind men saying they don't care about your degrees, whatever. And also, the more educated a woman is in general, the less likely she can be controlled. If she has her own money, her own resources, and she can take care of herself, men are going to see that as a threat, because if he starts tripping or acting button up, you can leave. They want a woman that can't go nowhere. They're like, I don't care about your degrees. I'll date a woman that work at Wendy's. Why? Because a woman that work at Wendy's don't have any resources, and she's probably most likely to be dependent on him in some way. And that's why. It's all a way for, they're really just showing their weakness. Mental, emotional, probably financial weakness. That's it.
And imagine if women acted like that about men's accomplishments. Men love nothing more than to spend the entire 2 to 3 hours on a date talking about themselves, talking about their accomplishments, talking about all that. Imagine if women just started going out there and being like, oh, I don't care about that. Can you cook and clean? Do you know how to raise a child? Can
you change a diaper?
Yeah, real men.
Can you make your own doctor's appointments?
Yeah.
Facts.
No, seriously, yeah, I don't care about your education. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about your degree. I don't care about your job or your finances or your stocks or whatever. Do you know how to scrub a floor? Do you know how to take a dog outside? Do you know how to wash some dog shit off a shoe? All of these things. I don't want to have to do this stuff when we get married. Right? And that would be you dating like a man.
Exactly.
Telling a man that you don't care about his accomplishments, telling a man you don't care about his career plans. You just want him to stay home and take care of the children. Because that's the most important job in the world.
Yes, sir, I don't care about your accolades. Yeah. Can you get me to the big O within 5 minutes?
Because I can do that all by myself.
Can you do it for me? If not, then you're useless.
Useless.
Next in line, please.
Next.
And I'm just saying men would never even see it as an option to not have an O when they're hooking up with you.
Facts.
It's not an option. And they don't care how long it takes, and they don't care how many positions they want to put you in. They don't care if it takes hours, right?
No.
But they don't want to go down on you for 7 minutes.
Oof. Oof.
Date like a man, ladies. I'm telling you, date like a man. Otherwise, you're getting ripped off because what else is in it for you? People kept tagging me a long time ago in this red pill video where Fresh and Fit, that guy from Fresh and Fit. I don't know if he was Fresh or Fit. Oh, I just called him Fresh and Fit. I don't care what their real names are. I don't care if this one was Fresh or Fit.
Myron is the one. Typically, when they go viral for something stupid, it's usually because of Myron.
It's something he said.
Yeah, he's unhinged. So he was he was grilling this lady about, well, what does a man get out of marriage that he can't get out of a relationship?
Oh, I think
and she, and she was kind of struggling to answer. She's like, well, it's the guarantee that the woman is belongs to you or whatever. And I was like, girl, you're approaching this from the very wrong angle.
Very much.
Because he's right. There is nothing that men get out of marriage that they don't get from a relationship. That's because women have been brainwashed. But also, what do you always have to flip the question around. What do women get from a marriage? What? Tell me, what do women get from a marriage?
Protection and provision. That's what what they always say. To provide and protect. That's it. That's all they got. They got nothing else.
But 98% of them want you to have a job too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can't survive on a single income now.
They pick those girls based on them not having any real experience, or they're pick-me's, or they're young.
They're OnlyFans girls.
Yeah, they don't ever get... Princella went on there a while back, and she knew how to talk to them. But typically, the women that they have on there, they have those types of women on there to make them look
for
good.
a reason.
Yeah. They don't have the smartest, the sharpest tools in the shed,
Same thing for that Whatever podcast on YouTube. They never have women on there that are more eloquent and articulate when it comes to asking certain questions of oh, why are you doing OnlyFans? Aren't you going to regret it? These dumb, mediocre ass questions that are meant to be just torture porn for these women, essentially. I think they've only ever had just one woman on there, and I forget what her name was. But they called her Bae Guevara because she was wearing a Che Guevara type outfit with the beret and the leather jacket.
I remember
it was really funny. And she was handling those questions really well, I must say. But they very rarely have those type of women on there. Why? Because it's to churn out content that the algorithm likes, that men are more paying attention, young men are paying more attention to, which is women with their boobs out, who have an OnlyFans account, who are not very well spoken, and they're just everything that embodies their misogynistic view of women. That they're only just meant there to be dolls or bimbos, and they don't add anything of value or anything like that. And it's like a confirmative bias for them to project on these girls and not really think of them as human, because they don't really have to think of them as human. It's they don't have to see these women in real life or interact with them in any sort of way. This is just content on a screen. And
I
that's
honestly
their
don't-
whole problem.
I honestly don't think Myron even likes women, but that's just my own
Oh,
personal opinion.
he is in
Closeted.
love with Fresh or whoever's the other guy is. He is in love with that man. Do you guys see that
Yeah, I
video of
think
him
so, too.
defending him?
Yeah.
Where he was like, that's my guy. Like, if there's no him, then there's no me. Like, y'all are not gonna sit here and talk shit. He was like so worked up
weird.
about this other man because this other man went out there and fathered a child that he didn't want to take care of. And
I think
people
the girl
were trying to like cancel him.
I think she got an abortion.
Yeah, well, which I think he tried to pressure her into. So I guess that worked. But that they came out and I guess Myron was like really defending him. Like, we're not going to stop making. He like broke a glass table, slamming his fist on it so hard. I'm like, I've never seen you this passionate about a woman.
Pathetic.
Sir. You.
Oh, no, you know, there were clips circling around the internet of him laying in bed with a guy with no shirt on. And they were like basically kind of snuggled. It was weird. Weird. And then there was another one where he was kissing some white guy or whatever. So you know, I don't know. I'm not saying that means anything, but it did look very suspect.
He's testing the waters.
Yeah. So
clearly.
I don't really think he strikes me, and I'm not trying to spread rumors or anything. I'm just giving an opinion. This is just my own thought.
Non-professional opinion.
Yeah. He strikes me as a type that really wanted women, but was not getting the women he wanted. And he just was like, you know what? Well, maybe I'll just try to hop the fence. And he doesn't really want to hop the fence, but he does at the same time, if that makes sense. Like a lot of guys will, it's kind of like being in prison. A lot of them would prefer to sleep with women, but since they can't get women, they don't have access to women, they would go ahead and sleep with the guys that are in do you get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like, and then they'll get out and then they'll claim that they're straight again.
I've heard the same thing.
That's the vibe I get from Myron. That's the vibe he gives me.
I've heard the same. Yep. I've heard the same thing from my gay friends who are like, all of these, you know, really straight men, the football quarterbacks, the like whatever. He's like, when I was in college, every single one of them, when we were left alone behind closed doors, tried to make a pass.
Yep.
Tried something. So a lot more of them are like really curious about that stuff than you might think. And I've heard this from more than one gay friend. It's like it actually just comes up very naturally because it happens to them so often.
Yeah.
Where a straight, by all means, straight man who's possibly even in a relationship, all that.
Yep.
And so they think that this person is safe to hang out with. They think that this person wants a platonic friendship. And then they get together and the straight guy starts acting real weird. Real weird, like making himself very available.
There was a reason that Grindr was crashing during all those conservative conventions and GOP parties at the Trump rallies and shit.
Oh my God. So again, you know, yeah, keep that in mind. A lot of men, if men brought to the table what women bring to the table, a lot of men would just date each other. I'm sure. If
they would.
Free labor and, you know, childbirth and all that stuff. But a lot of men are very delusional about leaving a legacy, about, you know, having a submissive wife, whatever, having, you know, that kind of trophy family that they will just be like, all right, fuck it, I guess I'll settle down with a woman. And that's how they think about dating us. That's how they think about dating y'all. So please date like a man. In that case, even if you are going to end up with a man who like doesn't like you or love you or whatever, he should be at least bringing something to the table. He should not be there to just take from you and take from you and take from you, because that is what most men do. And you just have to be willing to not give it. And you have to be willing to live with the consequences of that, which is that 99% of men will not want to date you.
That's so
if you're
true.
not like, I'll cook for you, I'll clean for you, I'll have your kids, I'll have sex with you raw so you don't have to wear protection. I'll put myself on birth control for your pleasure, you know, not for my own reasons, but I'll put myself on birth control. Then I'll feel self-conscious when I like gain weight or when I'm like overly emotional or whatever. I'll take all of that upon myself. I will like improve your style. I will tell you what haircut to get. I'll tell you how to do your, you know, facial hair. I'll tell you what colors you look good in. I'll, you know, encourage you to apply for that raise at work. I'll help you fix your resume. I'll apply for you, for fuck's sake. Like so many women are like, my husband only has a job because I applied for it.
Ugh.
Imagine if you were unwilling to date men unless they acted like that.
I said that before too. Like a lot of men, the reason why, because a lot of women ask, they're like, it doesn't even seem like a lot of these men really like women for real. Why do they bother us? Why won't they just leave us alone? They won't leave you alone because the free labor that they can get out of you, they can't get that out of a man.
Exactly.
If they could get it out of a man, that's where they would be. So they will.
If men could give birth.
Many of them are on the down low. So we'll have a conversation about that one day, hopefully in the future.
Absolutely.
Many of them are on the down low, and they really wish that they could just be out. And there's nothing wrong with liking men if you're a man. There's nothing
Absolutely
wrong
not.
with that. Nothing. The problem that I have is when you're lying to women and putting women's health at risk and pretending to be something you're not. That's the only issue I have with men being gay. Other than that, I don't really care. You have the right to do what you want to do. You are attracted to what you are attracted to. But they really wish that they could come out and, be free and all that, but they are afraid of ridicule and all that stuff. So they will go do their thing behind closed doors, but they mess with women because they got somebody that'll cook for them and make them plates and, do their laundry and make them look good to their boss and make them look good to their friends. That's the reason. That is the reason why men who don't really like, a physical or emotional punching bag. Absolutely. So if you're wondering why those certain types of men treat women so horribly, but they won't leave you alone, that is why.
I think that's perfectly said, Sovereign. As always, nailed it. Like,
thank you.
No notes.
For me, to date like a man, you just need to place yourself first always. Just be radically and unapologetically be a cold, heartless, selfish bitch. Your needs and wants are more important than everyone.
Yes.
No, seriously. If a man calls you a bitch, that is the highest fucking compliment.
Absolutely.
Because you are not backing down. You are holding firm on your boundaries, and they hate that fucking shit. So when they call you, you're being all cold, you're being such a raging bitch, that is a compliment.
You're on the right path, sister.
Absolutely.
You're doing everything right. You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. But I digress. So your needs and wants are more important than everyone else's. You're considering how being in a relationship with this other person is going to benefit you in the long run. Be sure you know what that looks like. What do men in finance do before they make a business deal and sign the paperwork? Well, they vet their sources, they gather information, they gather the bank statements, the proof of income, the balance sheets, they run background checks, and think in terms of bullet points or boxes being checked. They plan light years ahead with exit strategies, contingencies, or possible mergers and acquisitions. And how many times have you heard a man say, it's not personal, it's just business?
Yep.
Yes.
Protecting their assets at all costs is their most holy Bible, or it's in their male codex. For women still in the dating phase of their lives, having this mindset is a more empowering tool to have than just going off of vibes or what you think about how relationships are built. Yep. But if men are not taught to value marriage and relationship, then why are you the one doing all the work for them? Get it in writing, follow the money, be unapologetic, because you are the asset worth protecting. Yep. You are the CEO of your entire life. Just if you treat your body, well, you don't have to treat your body like a business. I wonder if that's could be misconstrued as something else, but you are an asset worth protecting.
Men treat your body like a business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They literally do.
Transaction.
They expect that of you.
Yes, they talk about depreciating value. They talk about depreciating looks and how your body looks after birth. And they have the nerve to do all that, don't they?
Stop caring what men think of you. If they say you're a bitch or you're difficult, it is because you're not easy or you're not low-hanging fruit. That is all that means. You are not, they thought you were going to be a easy conquest and you turned out not to be. And that's how they take their anger out, by calling you names and saying you're difficult and you're not wifey material. That's another highest honor.
Oh,
if a man say you're not wifey material, take it as a compliment. I know I do.
Celebrate.
Because they're basically saying, dang, I ain't going to be able to pull the wool over her eyes. Damn it.
You can't be used.
That's all that means.
I can't use this one.
Oh, yeah.
A man that's worth something, a man that is a decent, if he's a decent person, he will find that type of stuff attractive.
Exactly.
The fact that you're independent and you have standards and you know your worth. A man that's worth anything will be like, you know what, that's pretty cool. They think it's cool. They think it's sexy. They think it's intriguing or whatever. They're not gonna be threatened by it, not by a long shot. So just keep that in mind.
And they will find it satisfying in and of itself to be a good human being.
Yes,
they're not going to want to get
definitely.
one over on you because that's going to make them feel worse about themselves, right? They want to earn what they have, and they want to be useful and helpful in a relationship because they understand that a relationship benefits them too.
Yes.
And if not, benefits them more. And that's how my husband treats me.
Absolutely.
That's how the men that I know and choose to surround myself with, that's how they treat their wives. So I know better than fucking anybody that it's not all men. But I also know better than anybody too that it took me a long time to find and surround myself with those kinds of men too. And it's not, and it's a learning process still for them because the narrative is so strong that they're always having to push against. My husband talked about that. Like when we first got married, like he had to really, deal with the fact that his free time is not the most important thing in the world anymore, and luckily, again, both of us had that mindset because I wasn't really raised to value other people's time more than my own. But that's where we started from, and that's why our marriage is successful is because neither of us expects to freely, give of our time. And when we do, we're both like proud of that. And we know that that's an accomplishment in and of itself. And it's satisfying to both of us to like live our life as a good, productive human being that's not just leeching off of somebody for free. Neither of us wants to do that. And I feel like men have more trouble letting go of that mindset because they are taught so much to prioritize themselves in every situation, no matter what. Like you could literally give birth to a baby, tear from V to A, or have a C-section or whatever, and that man will still be like, you're just no fun anymore.
Yeah.
Ever since you became a mom, you're just not fun.
Paying the baby more attention than you're paying me.
Oh yeah, being jealous of the baby.
How dare you keep the baby alive? How dare
Exactly.
you?
Exactly. So that's what you're dealing with. The utmost selfishness, like the peak of selfishness is what you're dealing with.
They've more or less just been coddled by society, like at present, which tells them like they're perfect as they are and rewarded for their mediocrity. Like if you don't believe me, ask yourselves how boys are raised versus girls. Like let's look at the differences. Girls are told you're bossy and boys are told, wow, you have strong leadership skills. You'll be the next president one day. Or like who are some celebrities that you can think of that have come out as like convicted rapists and they still get to be in the White House, booked for TV shows and sold out concerts. Like just basically men that they failed upwards. Like their lives remain fully intact because they're still talented and maybe went to rehab or did 3 months probation. So just any notion that practices selflessness in girls is portrayed and rewarded as being motherly, and actions that show empathy, care, consideration, cooperation is the bare minimum for girls, but it's rare for boys. And
it is.
Why? They get to be autonomous human beings first, just boys versus they're not considered, future husbands or future fathers without like they don't have these like projections imposed on them immediately when they're, growing up in the world, like from infancy to like 5 or 6. They're not considered, future mom or future daughter-in-law to, society at large. They get to be their own person first. Whereas girls, like we are future mothers and wives, or as we get older, like we just become body parts before we are just human beings because, how dare we want things for ourselves?
Yep. And that's what we're here to try to change. So, ladies, I hope you listen, and I really hope you take this advice to heart. And speaking of advice, should we dive into our mailbag after this break?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And we're back. Let's dig into the mailbag, ladies. We have a twofer today. We have just a general sort of shout out. So let's get into this one. Dear brave and smart comrades, badass bitches unite. We are in this fight together. I'm a single mom divorced with an 18-year-old daughter, and seeing the fire and passion you bring to this podcast gives me a lot of hope for all of us. Despite loving her dad very much and being married for 15 years, I could not struggle to hold up the weight of the marriage, the house, my university, career, everything, and the raising of my daughter. 15 years and I truly crumbled, and at that time, I didn't even really understand why. I thought I was doing all of the right things. Your topics on the recent episode about marriage really hit hard for me. You really get it. We almost had a second child together, but my intuition told me no. And I'm so glad I can be here for my daughter and have more energy. I'm glad I did not have another child. I think the difficult part, and I'm Gen X, is that on the outside, he projected an image of being very kind, helpful, compassionate, good, involved dad, etc. But the fact of the matter is I was abandoned as a partner pretty early on into the relationship. And hearing that podcast really affirmed that for me and made me feel better about everything. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
I'm just so happy every time I get one of these messages, and I'm happy that the podcast is getting this kind of response, because a lot of women just truly don't know.
Yeah.
Until
young women especially.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, say what you will about the Barbie movie, but it had some bangers in there. Like, by giving voice to the dissonance that it takes to exist under the patriarchy, we rob it of its power. Yeah.
I love that
Thank
movie.
you.
I loved America for her speech.
Yes, because it really is that women need permission. A lot of women I found, they just need that permission to let go of those societal expectations and be like, no, what about me?
Absolutely.
And so we love you so much. Yay, we're so happy. Again, we're not giving out names for privacy reasons, but whoever you are, beautiful soul, we are so happy for you, and we are just sending you love, and we're here for you.
And shout out to you for following your intuition. So many women go against their intuition, and it gets us in a world of trouble. Yeah, I'm so glad when women follow their gut. Please please always do that.
Yes, that must have taken a lot of bravery on your part to kind of go against the grain on that, and whatever was socially conditioned into you, especially Gen X women. I think a lot of them were raised on like conservative, traditional values. I think it was like the Reagan era, like his whole thing was like, you know, traditional family values and things like that. Just like kind of how we're seeing that here with Trump. So to see that, you know, you found this podcast and it's resonated with you just means a lot to us. And it validates what we've been saying to our younger audience as well, that like we're not just talking out of our ass here. Like we're listening to women like you who have come before us. Yeah, it really does. Like, it's not just, you know, stories that have come from Reddit. Like, some of them are, but this is also our real life experiences. And we listen to the older women, and we listen to the boomers, we listen to Gen X women, and we love you, and we're glad you're here.
I second that.
Absolutely. So now we have an actual like question, and this one is, all right, I'm going to let you ladies chime in. This one says, how do you navigate your relationship when your boyfriend has a porn addiction? Boo. I can tell he really loves me, and I'm glad he trusted me enough to tell me his addiction. He's gone off of social media and has gone cold turkey, but I feel like he only does this when I'm on the verge of breaking up with him. I don't know if the addiction is why he wasn't showing up as I needed him to, or if this is just who he is. Probably both.
Honestly, both.
Yeah. He's been vulnerable with me, saying he doesn't feel worthy or has low self-esteem, but only when I've gotten mad at his behavior. And that's his reason behind it. I know it's because of his addiction. Am I fighting for a relationship that won't last, or should I see where this goes?
Yes.
Right. Our lease ends in April.
Where it goes is hell. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's right into, unless he's doing the active measures, like proactive steps to like go to therapy, go to counseling, go talk to a trusted adult about these things, and doing the work, and, you know, reaffirming like your worthiness in the. But honestly, when a man tells you, you know, I'm not worthy of you, fucking listen to that.
Believe him.
Listen to him.
Believe him and just leave.
Or he will prove why he thinks that way.
Yeah. And before we go any further, she does give some backstory. She says, backstory if you're interested in some tea, which I always am. Please give me the backstory. So she says, we met when I was 18 and he was 22 in college. We broke up for the first time after 3 years. Issues during this period were him not taking me out on dates, always playing video games, and basically acting like a man-child, especially when we moved in together. I coped by drinking until I blacked out and would lash out at him and anyone else there. And she says, I've completely healed from this by working on myself while I was single. She said, we got back together for 2 months after a 7-month break, but I didn't think he had grown, and I was not willing to go back to how it was. We got back together again after a year later, and now he has been willing to be the man I need and has for sure grown in the best ways, but I had this feeling he wasn't who he could be 100%. He has shown me he can step up, but only when I have had it and I call him out. We are able to converse and talk about our feelings, but usually when I bring it up. He still plays video games, but not to the same extent, and has put more effort in helping around the apartment.
He's pacifying her.
Exactly. If he's only doing this stuff when you're on the edge.
Yeah. He knows what to say and what to do when you're on the edge. The problem is you have to keep going to the edge. That's the issue. And that's why it's never going to change, because he knows how to pacify you. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. His porn addiction, like Gwen said, if he's not actually getting help, like tangible help that can be demonstrated to you, that's a dead end.
Absolutely. That relationship is not going anywhere, and if he doesn't even realize the detriments that it has to him, let alone you and your relationship, porn is really bad for us. It's not natural.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the equivalent of like hiding in the bushes and spying on people having sex. It's weird, guys. It's weird. And especially if you're doing that for hours a day, you can't like have, you can't have like normal, routines and stuff.
Yeah.
Without that is an addiction. It's weird and it's not normal. And it releases way too much dopamine in our brains for it to be like, it should be considered like a classified substance.
Yeah.
But, that's just one thing. And of course, it impacts relationships negatively because of that, just like any other addiction would. And no wonder that you developed an addiction too while you were in that relationship. Because this is a lot of how you see men's behavior affecting women. Like women start doing these self-destructive behaviors, like drinking and, doing all these kinds of things, or just running themselves into the ground trying to do all the right things.
Yeah.
And it's the women that suffer from the things that men do.
It really is. And your self-esteem takes a hit.
Yeah.
The way you look, your energy levels, the way you, just everything, the way you feel
The way
about
you trust
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah, it takes a
Intuition,
hit.
yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, the intuition. Women will ignore their intuition and ignore the red flags. It really does have psychological effects on you. The very fact that y'all broke up as many times as y'all didn't got back together. And this is just, maybe it's just my bias. I've never gotten back with an ex because I've always felt like we broke up for a reason.
Yeah.
And if he only changes temporarily, because that's typically what men do. They'll change until they get back into your good graces again, and then they go right back to who they are because he hasn't actually done the work. The very fact that you break up, get back together, break up, get back together, that's a red flag in and of itself. He doesn't sound like he's changing. He knows how to pacify you. That's really it. That's all. And you taking him back as many times as you have, or y'all getting back together, is saying to him, okay, I know what I need to say and what I need to do to get back into her good graces. And it works because you're allowing it. The moment you cut this off, you can move on with your life. I'm talking about like cut it off for good.
Yeah, set that boundary.
Yeah, that's not a man who loves you. I'm sorry. It simply is not. If he's willing to like stand by and just watch you suffer and try to address his issues over and over and over again, but he's not doing a damn thing about it, that 2 + 2 = 4.
Always remember, a man, when a man doesn't have incentive to change, they're not going to. You taking him back is rewarding bad behavior. That's that's essentially what it boils down to. So change for what? All I got to do is pretend to be this and pretend to be that and pacify her. And she's going to take me back, and I'm going to be back getting food cooked for me and free sex and free whatever it is you're doing for him that he's using you for. That's it. So if they don't have any incentive to be better, they're not going to.
Exactly.
Women learn to set boundaries, but we don't ever really learn to enforce boundaries because it feels almost impossible to us because we've all, to some degree or another, have this like people-pleasing tendency in us. We don't like saying no. We don't like having to be the bad cop or the bad guy. But it is so necessary, especially in relationships, to want to respect yourself and not allow behavior to continue, even though you very much love this person and you would never, wish ill will on them. But at the same time, you got to choose yourself. Like we said, date like a man. Like, what would a man do in this situation? Like, if you just weren't putting out and you were just on your phone all the time or playing video games.
Or watching porn.
And you weren't paying attention to his needs. Yeah, or just watching porn. Well, I mean, a man would just be like, oh, can I watch? Can I join?
I doubt it. If you were watching porn that only like appealed to women or like, not the kind of porn that appeals to them, they would never watch that with you.
Watch gay porn around him and see how
No, seriously.
He'll either be into it, which is ding ding, a red
you
flag.
You're going to rhyme with that one.
or it's a win-win for you because if he's into it, then that's suspect. And then if he's not, then he'll know what it feels like to be ignored. And to, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
If we want to go the petty route, just like watch some gay porn in front of him. Just straight up, put it on the big screen, put it on the TV and put the volume up. See what he does.
I thought men like this.
Let's gauge that reaction.
I love porn. What's
this is made for y'all, by y'all, with y'all.
Like, what could be more straight than, a bunch of men? Like, I'm sorry. That's how a lot of men, especially the ones that are on the DL.
They bond.
Yeah.
Watching porn together.
But in all seriousness, you sound fairly young, and I support, the learning process, and just take this as like a learning opportunity. This was not, time wasted, because now you know what, porn addiction looks like. And you can kind of, in future relationships, have a keen eye on these things, and you know what to look for, you know the signs, and you're less willing to make the same mistakes twice. Because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You're not going to want to shame yourself. You're going to want to start trusting your intuition as you get older.
Absolutely.
But the more you just keep, pushing that gut feeling aside, the less it's going to come to you, because your gut has learned, what's the point in warning you? Because you clearly have no self-preservation instinct.
That's so true.
Absolutely. And like, read that back to yourself and really think about, is this worse than being alone? Like, is this, like, what's worse, being alone or dealing with a man who doesn't step up, watches porn all the time, is not willing to address his addiction, is not willing to, do anything for you until you threaten to leave? What's better, doing that or being single?
I completely agree with that wholeheartedly. No notes.
But yeah, that man is for sure wasting your time. For sure wasting your time.
Absolutely.
And
wasting your youth too.
Yeah. And being single is by far not the worst thing that could happen to you in this scenario.
No.
The worst thing that could happen to you is you staying with this man, honestly.
You have everything to gain by being single in your youth. Because nobody is going to, tell you what the fuck to do with your time, your energy, especially your money. Like, if you want to go travel, do it. If you want to go back to college, do it. Like, there's all these amazing possible things that you can do with your life, with your youth, with your energy that you have currently, like in your 20s. Oh my God, do not waste that on a man.
Yeah, no,
do not
seriously.
make the same mistakes, countless other women in their 20s have made by wasting their energy by a man. Because like, it's getting zapped when you're with a man that just is so radically selfish and does not care about you.
Exactly.
It's like being with a vampire.
Yep.
A literal vampire.
Well, thank you so much for that question. I hope that this was helpful. I know that a lot of the things we say are going to seem radical or harsh or whatever, but just know that we're not saying these things for no reason. We're saying these things because we have been around these situations. We have spent time, looking into this, listening to other women talk about this. And these are the conclusions we've come to. And the amount of times that we have seen this play out successfully and end well is about zero. So that's all I got to tell you. So it's just not. It's not the kind of relationship you want. So Godspeed to you. Get the hell out of there. Throw the man in the trash. You have our full support.
And it's going to seem hard at first, but just know in a few years, you're going to look back and be like, that was like the best fucking thing I did was to let that go. Get that weight off your shoulders.
Take it from all of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At first, it's going to be hard, but then you're going to feel immeasurable sense of relief.
Definitely.
And you're going to gain that confidence back in yourself that you're going to be able to trust yourself in the future to do the right thing when it's time to do the right thing by you.
Absolutely. Exactly. If anyone has a recommendation, the new Megan album.
Or my recommendation, I guess, would be the TV show Pose. I really, really like it.
Oh, it's a great show. If y'all haven't watched it, it's amazing. And I'm only a couple episodes in, but it is very quickly becoming one of my favorite shows. I didn't know what to expect.
Somebody just posted about that the other day.
We were talking about this in the group chat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, Gwen was saying like it taught her a lot of things. Yeah, because there's a lot of, stuff that we don't know, especially about like the underground LGBTQ scene.
Yeah.
Back when it was so stigmatized and just so,
Oh, yeah.
And I love the casting choices they made. Like they actually cast, trans people to act in the show. And I loved it. It has such a big vision too. And I'm certain that Beyonce watched that show and then she did the Renaissance album. I'm certain. So yeah, I definitely recommend Pose as a show, as like if you're looking for your next binge watch that about a subject that you probably know nothing about, get in there. It's a really good show. The production's amazing. The acting is amazing.
The story and the writing.
Yeah.
I really appreciated all like the messages. Like I really appreciated all like the educational content too that they were trying to push out, because I had no idea like the AIDS epidemic was as bad as it was. Like, 'cause
Oh,
y'all, they don't teach us this shit in like Texas public education, which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
And to watch, well, because I don't want to spoil anything, but like they were dumping their loved ones' ashes on like their politicians' front lawns that had died of AIDS and begging, screaming, just crying, "Stop killing us!" Yo, my heart broke.
God.
It was so broken learning that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the messages and the writing they were trying to get across, and most importantly, like just that educational value to the audiences. Because like I said, I just had no idea, and they literally were sentencing Black and brown gay people to die.
Yeah.
They wouldn't include them in the trials that were helping just only white people. And I looked this up. I fact checked it after I was done watching the last season. That part was true, where like it was only 90% of these trial drugs for HIV, when they were being tested, they would only include white people, and that was like 90%. And they maybe had like a few like Black and brown people that they were also giving these drugs to. And these were the drugs that actually worked and were scientifically proven to increase your T cells.
Well, I think the drugs now are like that. In general.
Yeah.
Like they have allegedly made all of these advances to where it's not a death sentence anymore.
Yep.
And they have a lot more drugs to choose from too, because at first there was only like one or two, and you just had to kind of deal with the side effects.
Yeah.
And now there's different, I guess, side effects you can just kind of pick and choose from regarding treatment. So, and like learning that what it took to get there, it just made my heart break so much for the gay community. I had no idea, truly. Reagan is in hell looking up at us. That man, he's in hell. Because Reagan, he was the president at the time of the AIDS crisis. And he was the one more or less giving people the idea that this was a God-given curse.
I hope he's looking up at hell from wherever he's at. I hope he's below. I hope
he's below hell. The space below. Dante's like circle.
Oh my God.
I hate that man.
Below hell is
Me
fucking
too.
crazy.
Most historians and economics professors hate Reagan too, but gay people
That's
especially.
wild work. That's crazy
Thank
work.
you. Yeah.
And also, like some white people are learning now recently too that you can get HIV not through like gay sex, but through needles, through sharing drug needles.
Yeah.
That's been the case. It's so the main ways: sex, sharing needles. Back then, the mother could pass it to her baby through breast milk, and
it's blood to blood.
the blood transfusions. But they've gotten better with the blood transfusions over the years. But back then, they didn't have that sophisticated like technology to separate or to like test correctly for people who are getting blood transfusions. Yeah. But that hasn't been a thing for a long time.
Yeah, but it was also affecting white women whose husbands were on the down low.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because that's a huge storyline in that show as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was always a thing.
Season 1.
I think they just suppressed it. People were not going to just come out and be like, "Hey, by the way, my husband is sleeping with whoever." And me working in healthcare, that was another thing. Like a lot of people are dealing with that, and nobody knows. Because they just you're going to the hospital to say congratulations on your baby boy, or well, here's a teddy bear, and they're like thank you, and they're sitting there HIV positive, and they just found out why they were pregnant.
Wow,
that's one of the number one ways that women find out is when they're going for their pregnancy checkups. Yeah, so
it's horrible,
and you can't you're not going to just come out and tell everybody,
Right.
You can't.
Well, yeah, it's been very stigmatized again, so it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
So I have one last bit of news to share with the gay audience if you're paying attention to this. Or even if, for education purposes, like this is just good to know. But there is hope out there for people with HIV and AIDS because I think after March 2025, there is going to be more of a green lighting on FDA-approved measures of gene editing. So they go through your genetics and they find, I guess, that part of like the RNA that's like the part of the virus and removing it.
Oh,
hey,
through new technology.
That's fantastic.
That is fantastic.
But I'm glad to be back, you guys.
I know, we're glad to have you.
Yes. So yeah, please check out the recommendations. Please subscribe to all of our podcasts. channels, platforms, whatever you're on, and make sure that you leave a 5-star review, because that really, really helps us gain traction, and we would really appreciate it. We want this message to get out to as many women as possible, and hopefully y'all do too. So please make sure that you're boosting this podcast and sharing it with your friends and leaving good reviews, leaving comments, whatever that you can do. Just know that we will appreciate it to the ends of the world.
I concur.
It's going to mean so much. So thanks to those of y'all who are already supporting us on the Patreon or just making our Patreon a part of your community. We love to see it. We love to see you guys there. So please continue showing up. There's free tiers. There's a tip jar if you're, only able to spare $1 or $2 a month. That's great. And we would love to have you there, even if you're not, a paid member. We will make all of our VIP content and blogs public after 2 weeks after their release. So keep an eye out for that if you're a free tier member. But if you want to have access to that stuff early, we do love our paid members, our VIP members, because you are really helping to support the work that we do here.
Yes.
And with that being said, I hope y'all have a great week ahead, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.